Hello, everyone, and happy Halloween! Welcome to a very special edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. The reason why it's our very first Halloween special. With the Halloween specials, I'm bringing actors and content creators who have produced some of our best, who are affiliated with some of the greatest villains of all time. And today's guest is a talented voice actor who has voiced Megatron for 5 incarnations of the Transformers, Beast Wars, Beast Machines, Transformers Armada, Energon, Transformers Cybertron. He's also voiced some of Marvel's greatest characters, and he's also the announcer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. So please help me welcome David Kaye.
Hey, what's that? And the Halloween version, right? It's my, of course, I always had that in my studio. And Vincent Price, yes.
Vincent Price is a great one.
Yeah, there you go.
I loved his version of Egghead, and of course, Vincent Van Gogh, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He was so great. He was so great. His way he told a story, and you hear that voice, and you're already creeped out as soon as he opens his mouth. Every Halloween, I'll throw in an old Vincent Price movie. They're still great. I just love them.
Awesome. Speaking of creepy, I gotta say, Megatron is one of my all-time favorite villains because of your voice.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Here he is, the MP40. And I have one in the box for all you toy collectors, and it's not coming out. But and this is not going to be taken apart because I'll never put it back together again. I've never once, Jacob, ever transformed an actual toy. Just to let you know. So and then there's the button. But yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, who knew, man, back in the day? Who knew that this was we were still going to be talking about it?
We'll talk to Beast Wars in a second. So when did you get interested in acting, and how did that passion evolve into the desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
I don't know if I've ever said this, talked about this on an interview. Maybe I have in the past, but maybe not. You're maybe too young to remember that. Well, maybe you're not. Maybe you know just by osmosis and knowing that the local cable channels. Every town had a local cable channel. Their cable access channel, and our town was no different. And I was in radio at the time. I was very young. I got a job somehow working overnights on the weekends at my local radio station in place Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, which is near Toronto. I've been in LA in the US for a lot of years, so way back. But that's where I started, and I got a job in the morning in the all night show. I was horrible, but someone gave me a shot, and then I also met. I think prior to that, or around that same time, I was doing volunteer work at the local cable access station, and my late grandmother had a show on there, getting to know you, getting to know all about you, and she would interview local celebrities in my hometown, and I would do everything from behind the camera. I would operate the cameras, and I just loved it, being in the control room and all the buttons and all the lights and I just thought, God, I want to be a part of this. At that time, I really didn't know what that was. And then I thought it might be kind of cool to be in front of the camera and do, because I was always a ham. Every time you see home movies of me when I was a kid or pictures, I'm always like this, or doing some weird stuff and wanting attention. And none of my family is like that. I'm the outcast, weird one. So, yeah, and fast forward many years later, radio got me to Vancouver on doing the morning show and starting to do some characters on the morning show. And I met people I started in the theater community doing some shows. I had no idea about any of this. It was just based on a good friend of mine, a couple good friends of mine who had studied properly in London at the Royal Academy and all this new wonderful sort of, and they said, you should come out and do some plays and it'd be fun. And I got into it. And that's sort of how it all started. In Vancouver at that time, they were filming a lot of shows. X-Files was huge. And that was all shot in Vancouver. And I was able to get a couple of episodes of that. I did a couple of home movies or movies of the week, and a couple of films on camera. And the first cartoon was first cartoon audition for a cartoon. I was doing the morning show, so I had all day long to do nothing, and I signed up for this commercial modeling course. And my agent at the time, Ross Rhodes, called me and said, "So do you know how to do voices?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't, I had no idea what he's talking about. He said, "Well, there's a cartoon G.I. Joe, cartoons and G.I. Joe." Well, I watched some of those cartoons as a kid. I had some of the dolls. And so I went out for this thing, really not knowing too much about any of it. And I remember getting a stack of paper and reading for different parts. And they had me pick up the part of General Hawk. And I yo, Joe, follow me toward the danger. Yo, it's just sort of that thing. And 6 weeks later, I had the part in my first, major part of my first cartoon. And then all the stuff I was doing on the air and radio and all the stuff, I thought, okay, all right, I want to do this forever. I found something I really want to do. So that led to other voice work and other things. It led to a career in Los Angeles and in New York. And here we are today, somehow with a catchphrase like, "Yes, excellent." And it's like, it's so bizarre because it was just on a kind of a white lie, on just something I kind of fell in love with, and media, and here we are, man. I'm talking to you about it. It's the strangest thing. You just never know,
Awesome. I gotta say thank you, because Beast Wars Transformers was one of the few shows my dad and I watched together while growing up.
That's true. Yeah, when anything father-son related, that's I hear stuff like that once in a while, and it just it's so cool because you don't realize, we're all doing a cartoon and a show, and then you hear things like that, and it lands. Because I always thought, well, all my friends are lawyers and doctors, they own buildings and they own this, that, and that thing, but I always thought, well, I'm just doing funny voices. But there's been many times, like what you've just said, it sort of hits you in the heart. You go, oh, well, we do something important, and we do make a difference. We tell stories and we bring joy. The biggest thing is this horrible pandemic. We're all sort of going through that, especially last year, at the height of it all, when we were really in the dark about most of it. It was the one thing that kept me laughing. We were able to work from home and interacting with the fans, through social media. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. My publicist will tell you that. She loves it. But it enabled me to sort of keep in touch and bring some joy. I mean, there was so much weird and darkness and awful things. I at least wanted to bring some smiles or laughter if we could, and that's sort of how I continue to operate in that realm.
Absolutely, because I turned a lot to YouTube and got in classic episodes of Beast Wars that were on there, and it's been 17 years since that show made its debut on television. So, in your humble opinion, how has Beast Wars made an impact on both pop culture and animation television?
I will admit this on your show for the first time. I haven't seen one episode from start to finish all the way through yet.
Wow.
I've seen snippets and pieces, but I'm one of those actors, that I always disappointed with what I do, and I go, oh, I could have done that better. So I decide not to watch in hopes that I won't disappoint myself. So yeah, you heard it here first, folks, on Jacob's show. But I have seen pieces, and I know, I mean, obviously we did scripts and we rehearsed and all that. But yes, and so its impact on pop culture, I didn't really understand it until I was invited. I'm talking off mic here a bit. Invited to my very first BotCon. Venus Turzo and I was in Rochester, New York, and it was basically kind of across the border from where I grew up. I grew up on Rochester and Buffalo television. And so we were there in Rochester, and it was the first ever convention, and then we get there, and there's thousands of people, and I believe Peter Cullen was at that one as well, and I had never met Peter before. He's another ex-Canadian, and so the first panel, we were all brought up on stage. We were marched out, and then the people and it's like, it really is. It's weird, Jacob. It's like you kind of feel, oh, this is what rock stars feel like when they go, and people, and I just felt so strange because of that. I'm just like a kid from, Podunk, Canada. Who like what? How the hell does this go on? And then I remember they were asking some questions, and I remember I think Ian Corlett was. I think Ian was there too. I can't remember. I think there was a few of us there, but somebody in the back puts up their hand, and I said, "Yeah, at the back." And he says, "Hey, Mr. Kaye, thank you for coming. Can you say excellent? Yes." And I went, "Okay." I went, "Excellent, yes." And then the whole room must have been like 1,100 people, and they erupted. I went, "Oh wow, well that kind of feels kind of powerful in a way."
It reminds me a lot of when Mark Hamill does the Joker laugh, or Ian McDiarmid does Palpatine, or even when Lana Parrilla does something about Regina from Once Upon a Time, and when he was alive, Robert Axelrod did Zed's iconic laugh, and Barbara Goodson did Rita Repulsa's laugh. Because those are when fans go nuts.
Yeah, well, that's that you always want to hear. It's cool to see it on screen and on television, but when you hear it live it's coming out of a person's mouth, it is, and I've had that experience as well when certain people I've run into that I've been fans of, and they say something, oh my God, they're, I'm a big fan of the movie Office Space, and I've run into all of those actors, and and it's so neat. And when I ran into Stephen Root, and I said, I met him at an audition, and I just said, I got to tell you, I said, first of all, this Office Space, my favorite thing in the world. He said, but that cartoon you did in space, when you played Chode, I said, that to me, and he goes, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, I had the same reaction. It's part of pulp culture, and to think that it's become part of the what would you call it, the lexicon of the pop culture lexicon, is so cool. It really is mind-blowing, honestly, because I was just a kid from my hometown of Peterborough collecting comics and Marvel, and I used to spend Saturday afternoons with my buddy. He had his part-time job, and I think we were only 14 or 15. He had a part-time job at Sandy's bookstore in my hometown, and it burnt down. It was the saddest thing. But this basement of this old bookstore, and it was all jammed with comics. And to think the value of some of those books. And we used to spend Saturdays going through, he would sell them, and I would be just going through comics. And in my first exposure to Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and all these great characters. And fast forward many years later, I'm in the room talking to Stan Lee and about being Vision and what's his name? What's the vet? Oh, am I crying a lot of having a mental?
Let's see, Vision. I'm trying to think of the villain.
I was the villain. I was the German. What's his name?
Red Skull.
Not Red Skull, but the
Armin Zola.
Though that was Hamill played Armin Zola, and I played.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What was it? What was? Oh my! Crying out loud! Somebody help me.
You said German, so I'm thinking Red Skull.
It's Avengers. I'll think of it in a second, because it's a weird one. No, it wasn't him. But anyway, I was in the Marvel show, and there's Stan Lee, and I did my little character for him, and Mark Hamill was in that day as well. And I always tell this story that I think it was Mark's birthday at that time. We were all in the episode, and we were doing an episode. Stan came in to do his role. He did a little cameo in the episode. And the font on his in the studio, the font on his paper was was that big, like large letters. He was 90. What was he? 92, 93 at that time. And he leaves, and we all were like, "Wow, isn't that so cool?" Stan was here, and Mark and I think it was Roger Craig Smith who played Captain America. So, do you see the size of the font? Like it's like, and Mark Hamill said, "Hey, we should all be so lucky to have font that big." And I go, "Wow, he's right." You know, to be in that business that long and to have affected people's lives. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I talked I've sort of talked around your question, but I think you get the gist of.
I totally get it. We
Yeah.
got it. Before we leave Beast Wars, we got to talk about Megatron because his evolution over those two series. You see him go from comical to all the way to God complex and sinister Messiah figure,
Yeah.
and then he becomes it in Beast Machines. And then there's another rendition of the character that was played through for Armada, Energon, and Cybertron. How did you keep those two Megatrons similar, different, but not so similar?
Well, I remember the direction came when we were doing the was it the third season, third season, where it was he was more godlike and more the humor. I know that Larry DiTillo and Bob Forward were the writers in the first, and there was some. I call it Spider-Man humor, the old Spider-Man humor, like sort of snide remarks, and there's some comedy in there, and. In Megatron, we get to play that too. Stop calling me that. Yes, my queen. Yes, stop. All those funny little
with all
lines.
that Inferno nonsense.
Stop calling me that. Inferno. Yeah. What's been it? Oh, yeah. So there was a bit of comedy. I call it Shakespearean sort of comedy. Some moments where, but as it got further on, and the last ones is a little darker, which I kind of liked it. I liked the animation. The animation at that time. We would see the rendering of the new animation of Beast Wars, and we're like, wow, this is look at this is the future. But when you look back on it today, you're like, wow, that's pretty rudimentary. But as it got on, the technology and animation got better, and you really started to see the evolution. And then Megatron got even more, more serious. I like all the versions, but I had to be careful not to bring any Spider-Man humor into it. He was the omnipotent or omnipresent or whatever. He was the big, the voice,
the big head.
The big head. Yeah, the giant. Yes, even darker.
Beast Machines, I think, was the darkest we've ever seen Megatron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the direction to begin of the season. Okay, Sue Blue sitting, pull back the the S's and we're just gonna, he's this and that, and we got a bit of an overview about where the show is going, and that's how we played it.
Awesome. But in 2007, you became the first actor go from Megatron to Optimus Prime for the Transformer Animated. So why decide it was time to go to voice Optimus?
I didn't decide at all. I was ready to do Megatron again. I remember getting the audition. I was still in Canada at the time in Vancouver, and we're making plans. I was on an airplane like for 10 years back and forth a lot. And we're making plans to move down, and I reached out to Sue and said, "Hey, I hear they're doing some auditions for Transformers. I'd love to be involved." "Oh, honey, oh my God, yeah, blah blah blah." And I go, "Excellent." So got all the sides read for different roles, and of course, I didn't even think really about Optimus at all. I don't think I read for Optimus. I just read for the villains, and I thought, okay, gonna get back on the Megatron horse again. Excellent, did my thing, and sent it in, and I got a call back. So I'm on in LA at the Cartoon Network, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And I meet everybody. Derek Wyatt's in there, and gosh, Sue's there, and Matt Youngberg, and the folks in the Cartoon Network, the producer, and so it was fun to go in and read a bunch of stuff. And then they said after, they go, all right, everybody's like telling old stories, and so said, "Hey, honey, can you pick up the sides for Optimus? We haven't really, found it. We're kind of going for like a younger Tom Hanks. We're kind of going for like a naive thing. Maybe just try your own voice." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I stepped out to just work on it a little bit and look at it. And they brought a person or two in, and I went back in and just sort of, transform and roll out. I just did sort of my voice. I made them a little younger, and then you could see them all like. Their heads are going like this in the room, and they're all talking. And I think I did it one or two more times, and then went, that was interesting. The good guy, yeah, right. And anyway, it was about maybe 3 or 4 weeks later. Oh, water break. That I was driving through Chinatown, downtown Los Angeles. It's Chinatown, Jack. Forget about it. But I was driving through Chinatown. And I got a call from Age. She said, DK, so hey, good news. They're going to cast, they want you to in Transformers Animated. I go, oh, excellent. And she said, so they're booking you for the role of Optimus Prime. And she's talking, and I'm like, I said, I thought I heard, like, I thought I heard it, but I'm thinking, well, that can't be right. Optimus. Well, why would they be, casting me as Optimus? And I said, so he's Optimus? She said, yeah, Optimus Prime. I go, oh, wow, okay. I remember hanging the phone up, and I was happy, but I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? I don't even know what I'm doing. They're going to find out I have no idea what I'm doing. And yeah, that's how it sort of happened. And I was like, kind of hit upside the head a little bit about when I got that role. It's like, well, this is going to be interesting. So I'm now the good guy. And it took a little bit to kind of get into that rhythm. Everything to me is music and jazz, and there's a rhythm to every character and every role. Once you find that, then it becomes a little easier. It took me a few episodes to get into it, but once I found it, yeah, it was we had so much fun. Guests that come in on that show, and Weird Al came in and worked with us, and Fred Willard before he passed away. That was a joy, and it was really so much fun. And it was hard to believe.
Awesome. So many Marvel, as we spoke before, many Marvel true believers might recognize you as the voice of some of Marvel's top characters. Besides Vision from Avengers Assemble, you also voiced Professor X in Apocalypse in one of my favorite X-Men series, X-Men Evolution.
X-Men Evolution, yes. Yeah, and, Beverly. Will's Will. Yeah.
And then also you voiced Mysterio in two video games, Spider-Man Shattered Dimension and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order.
Mysterio!
And then, of course, you have Corvus Glaive from Avengers Assemble and Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon. And, of course, Marvel.
Corvus. Yeah. And who else?
That's basically it. So what were some of your favorite moments for voicing these roles?
Well, just being in the studio with all those other clowns was a lot of fun, Travis Willingham, and Roger and Bumper, who was of course in Transformers Animated. Who else? And oh gosh, Mark was in that day, and working with Stan Lee, working with all those people, and the people involved behind the scenes, our director Colette Sunderman, and the writers from Marvel. The friendships we all made from that show. It was just such a great cast. Freddie Tadashore. There was a lot of times where it was very difficult to concentrate because we were laughing so hard between takes and screwing around. It was a very, very, very fun room.
Vision basically, Vision it was Paul Bettany's Vision, sort of in here, incoming, sir, down back in the throat.
And gosh, what's the, I'm going to have to do ask the Oracle about, give me 1 second here. You can still see me, right?
Of course.
Yeah. What's the I have to do it because it's going to drive me nuts if I don't tell you what this role was, and I should know. Just let me see. I wonder who it is. Yeah. Jarvis.
Oh yes, Jarvis.
Well, it was Jarvis, and then he became Vision.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. More in this vein, and then it became sort of Paul Bettany with the movie.
And gosh, who else was the cast? Yeah, Freddie, Troy Baker, Bumper, Travis, and Laura Bailey. Liam O'Brien was Red Skull, and the McWingert, Jen Hale, and Charlie Adler. James Masters III is Black Panther. Those were a lot of fun.
Baron, I have it now. I know. I remember Jacob. Baron von Zemo. Baron von Zemo.
Yes. Why did I not forget Baron Zemo?
Why do I have trouble? Why do I have trouble with that?
Because I think Armazol and Red Skull, Zemo's been forgotten about.
Yeah, that's right. It's right. And I had the episodes in the Black Pants, and I died a horrible death. And that's what Stan Lee said. Give me a little Baron von Zemo. Yes, Mr. Stan Lee, it's Baron von Zemo. And he goes, very good. But, I did the whole thing. That was a lot of fun. But those moments, again, I got to come back to the fact that, Stan working with Mark. Mark and I worked together in the regular show, which was a lot of fun. But working with Mark, I mean, anytime you work with, Luke Skywalker is kind of all right.
I totally agree. So we got to start winding down our interview. I cannot end this conversation without talking to you about being an announcer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. It's an incredible show. It's run a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, I got the old Last Week Tonight John Oliver pop thing.
Nice.
There he is.
Nice.
There. Yeah, I the rap party was the first last rap party before the pandemic hit. We were there in November before all hell broke loose in the new year. And I asked John, and they didn't want to. I've been at the Emmy Awards, never thought I'd get close to an Emmy, and let alone hold the damn thing. That was kind of cool. And I asked him at the rap. I said, "So what do you like? Did you think it was going to be, Because when they asked me, my manager called me and said, can you work on like a Saturday or Sunday?" And I'm like, ooh, kind of sacred territory. That's like, I kind of want to do stuff. I don't. And they said, well, the show, I said, well, let's try it. Like, what is it? And she, well, it's kind of a news. It's like John Oliver. He said, yeah, I know him. He was on, Jon Stewart. Like, so like, and I thought, well, let's give it a try. So, and 12 Emmys later, the show's won all these Emmys. And I asked John how he thought. He said, I don't know. Don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But those people worked their butts off. I got a chance to talk to, some of the they have investigative journalists that go deep. Like, I mean, they go deep and they're very thorough, and they have like a legal department must be as long as my arm because it's that part of the show fascinates me, and how they're make damn sure that they're going to do something. They're gonna do it right. And just being involved in that show is amazing. And most mornings on Sunday, I'll get up and we'll do that day's. And now, sometimes there's some longer form stuff, but it's just such a, how is this still a thing? It's just me I'm your announcer man from the 1970s or the 80s, whatever it was. I'm Gary Owens, who's an old, radio and TV star back in the day. And that's kind of where the comedic timing comes into play. And it's just, and what a thrill and an honor is to be involved in that. It's just, I always say that when you get into this business, you would like the roles like that, but you read everything and do everything you can to do all of it, because you just never know what's going to stick. Things you think are going to be, this is going to be a hit. And things you're like, this isn't going to go anywhere, takes off. You just don't know. So I read everything and have fun. And my most important thing for me is to get in this room and just have a ton of fun. And that's all I want to do. I just did a cartoon years ago. One of my earlier ones, Mickey Rooney was in the cast.
Oh, wow.
And he was holding court at the rap party. And he said something to all of us, which still sticks with me. And he said, "I have some advice for all of you. Don't ever grow up. Don't ever grow up." And I went, yeah, that's it, isn't it? Just, don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Why do we need to? I mean, we need to do adult things when we're growing up, but we don't need to grow. I mean, you know what I mean? Let's have some fun, because we get to go around once. So let's have a good time. And that was good advice from old Mickey,
Awesome, David. Yeah. So where can my audience connect with you on social, and where can I see some of your shows?
At DKVO on Twitter. Tara Strong hates that, has always hated that handle, but she's a goddess when it comes to Twitter. I'm an idiot, but at DKVO voiceover on both that and Instagram. I'm not as active as much on Instagram. There's some older pictures there. The Ratchet and Clank movie. There's some really cool pictures that James Arnold Taylor and myself at the movie. Hard to believe that's been out for 2016. Good. Wow. How does time go so fast? The new game is out, of course, and it's still breaking records and so much fun. Rift in Time. And let's see what else. I do have a Facebook page. You can find me there. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I would say. And let's see what else. We do cameos, and that's been a big hit. That's a lot of fun. And there's a web store on my web page at davidkaye.com. There's some new pictures. Of course, any Sesshomaru fans, Inuyasha and Yashahime fans, we're in the middle of season 2 right now, and that's so much fun to be back doing that again after so many years. There's some autograph pictures and stuff, and these the yes buttons. They've been a hit. It's I can't stop playing with the damn thing, and I'm anyway.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. If you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our Apple Podcast, Deezer, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, Podcast Addict. That's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And David, just let you know, jakestake.com is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's very cool.
I love doing this. It's one of my favorite things to do. And to read all my interviews, my articles and reviews, jakes-take.com. And guys, if you're financially able to, please consider heading to PayPal to help keep jakestake.com and my platform up and running. If you can't, I totally understand. But however, a good alternative, a good nice like and follow on social media. David, thank you so much. It was truly an honor and privilege to speak with you. And thank you so much for being my guest on my very first Halloween special.
There's no problem at all. And I really appreciate it, man. It's my honor. And don't forget to have a happy Halloween.
All right, David, thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much. Have a happy and safe Halloween. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, thank you.